There's so much hatred, war and poverty. Whoa, wake up all the teachers, time to teach a new way. Maybe then they'll listen to what you have to say. They're the ones who's coming up, and the world is in their hands. When you teach the babies, teach them the very best you can. You know what you because the world won't get no better if we just let it be. The world won't get no better. Gotta change the world, just you and me, yeah, yeah. Wake up all you doctors, make the poor people well. They're the ones who suffer and catch all the hell. They don't pass so very long before that judgment day. Won't you make them happy before they pass away? Come on, let's wake up all you builders. Time to build a new land. I know we can do it if we all lend a hand. The only thing that we gotta do is put it in our mind. Surely things will work out. They do it every time. Yes, they do. Listen. The world won't get no better.
Hi, my name is Mark.
If we just let it be. The world won't get no.
All righty, good morning, good morning, good morning. All right. Good morning and welcome to the California African American Museum. We are so thankful and excited to be hosting this very important meeting and have so many of you with us today. Today, of course, is the first in-person public meeting of the City of Los Angeles Reparations Advisory Committee. Today, the commissioners will present the city's plans to conduct an in-depth study of harms experienced by Black Angelenos. You here in attendance today, our community members will have a chance to respond with questions and public comment. If you haven't been able to do so, please go ahead and sign up at the back of the room for public comment. The Reparations Advisory Commission is a blue ribbon task force composed of leading local voices in activism, academia, law, and racial justice, and is chaired by Michael A. Lawson, President and CEO of the Los Angeles Urban League and former ambassador in the Obama administration. Today we are joined by committee members Lawson, Khansa Jones-Muhammad, Mark Wilson, Mandla Kayise, Katrina VanderWoude, Cheryl Harris, and Virgil Roberts. With that, I'd like to turn the day over to a very important part of our day with David Price. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. The Reparations Advisory Commission, we recognize that we occupy land originally and still inhabited and cared by the Tongva, Tatavian, Serrano, Kits, and Chumash peoples. We honor and pay respect to their elders and descendants, past, present, and emerging, as they continue their stewardship of these lands and these waters. We acknowledge that settler colonization resulted in land seizure, disease, subjugation, slavery, relocation, broken promises, genocide, and multi-generational trauma. This acknowledgement demonstrates our responsibility and commitment to truth, healing, and reconciliation, and to elevating the stories, the culture, and the community of the original inhabitants of the city of Los Angeles. We are grateful to have the opportunity to live and work on these ancestral lands. It is now my honor and a privilege to again welcome you to this space and to introduce the General Manager and Executive Director of the Civil Human Rights and Equity Department, Capri Maddox.
What's happening, Cam? I'm so happy to be here with the community, and I am telling you that this is our first in-person reparations meeting. How many of you all joined us online? How many of you participated in our survey? Thank you so much. I see hands in the back. You know what? Can everybody that participated in any previous event that we did, whether it's survey or an online event, please stand just for a moment. There's a lot of people that talk the talk, but there's people that show up and show out. And so you guys didn't leave us hanging out here is what I'm saying. So thank you so much. The commissioners appreciate that as well. Thank you so much, David, for that introduction. Of course, Capri Maddox, LA Civil Rights General Manager, and this event has been led by the Reparations Commissioners. We have been honored to have honest conversations with hundreds of Angelenos about systemic racism, right? And we know that these commissioners that we have are some of the most brilliant and talented from our community. These commissioners have been working to develop the first reparations program for the city of Los Angeles. And though we were not a slave state, we know that systemic racism happens. And it has happened, and it continues to happen right here in Southern California, Los Angeles, California, United States of America, right? Yeah, don't let the palm trees fool you, because it's a lot of weeds of injustice that are growing up. So I want you to know that, Los Angeles was built on redlining. People say, why are you doing this? California was a fugitive slave state, okay? Let's just be clear. People in California were sending African Americans back to the South to suffer in slavery. And Los Angeles was also built on redlining, denying Black families home ownership opportunities and generational wealth in certain zip codes. And in some of those injustices continue today. African Americans and Latinos pay more than their white counterparts with the same credit score for their mortgages today in this banking economy. So I want you to know that we still see the injustices, the racial divide of COVID-19, even though the mortality rates in our communities were higher. And so the injustices continue to show themselves. Housing discrimination to mass incarceration have created a broken city of inequality, and they have separated the descendants of enslaved persons from their wealth, their health, and their liberty. So I want you to know that the Los Angeles Civil Rights Department was created to address some of those issues, particularly discrimination enforcement in the areas of commerce, education, employment, and housing in the private sector. And I just want you to know, I'm thinking of, what happened to George Floyd, what happens to, our brothers and sisters as it relates to police brutality. That is real, but I'm going to be intentional to tell you there are so many ways that people have their knees on our necks. And until bankers and educators and people in real estate have body-worn cameras, we still have a lot of work to do in Los Angeles. And so we are doing a number of programs to deal with inequities, like our participatory budgeting program, where Angelenos can decide how parts of the budget can be spent. So if you live near here, we have $8.5 million that is going to be dropping into communities. So don't say you didn't know. Sometimes people come up to me and say they don't know. The money is here. The harvest is right? So you all need to be intentional to go in the back. And I think there's a voting station somewhere in the back right here. It's right over here where you can vote on the participatory budgeting on what you would like for your community. City leaders also created a Reparations Advisory Commission because we cannot wait for justice. We work in partnership with some of the work that's happening with the state, but I want you to know that we cannot wait for justice and we cannot wait for action. This commission is not a part of the state task force, although we are grateful for the state's leadership. And I just want to acknowledge Attorney Camila Moore. Are you here? She's the chair. Clap her up. She's chair of the task force who is here with us today. Thank you so much for being here with us. And I just want you to know that this is a working body that would not be here if it weren't for the leadership from City Council. We want to shout out the council members who led this work in 2021. Councilmember Marquise Harris Dawson, Councilmember Kern Price, who is here with us today, and Councilmember Mark Ridley Thomas. But we are especially grateful to have the continued leadership and the steadfast support of Councilmember Heather Hutt, who is a champion for equity with us. So now it is my great honor to introduce a hero. I call him a poverty and injustice disruptor, Mr. Kern Price of the 9th District. And I'm so excited that you'll get a chance to hear from Hugo Soto Martinez, our council member from the 13th, in just a moment. Councilmember Price, the mic is yours.
Thank you. And let's just thank Capri for her leadership, she and her team. I mean, talking about intentionality, civil rights, human rights, and equity. How's that for a department? Yeah, give her a hand. And she's not doing it by herself. She's got a team. There's a commission. There's a whole infrastructure that has been created really in the last 2 years. It really has come about to meet the need. But just want to welcome you to the new 9th and to CAM, California African American Museum. We are very proud that this is the first in-person meeting of the commission. And let's give it up to the commission, please. They have been extraordinary. If you've been following the deliberations really up and down the state, in Sacramento, and in the community, and so we're very honored and pleased that they are here today. Also proud to welcome a colleague from the council. Hugo Martinez is in the house. He's been a strong partner. He really appreciates and understands the power of black and brown communities working together, and so we count on him quite a bit. But you're going to recall that this commission was really birthed during one of the darkest times in our city's history, and really our nation's history, putting full display of how disparities and racism are constantly before us and on display. And in LA, we're setting the example, I hope, setting the example of righting the wrongs and the systematic oppression that's really been suffered through generations of Angelenos. And we want to try to address that problem with the support of phenomenal city departments like the LA Civil Rights and the Community Investment Families Department. We're working extra hard to achieve social and economic justice with reparations in mind. For example, we recently wrapped up a $40 million basic guaranteed income program. Some of you will recall that provided 3,000 families with $1,000 a month, no strings attached. And folks were using these funds for paying rent, utilities, repairing their vehicles, providing resources for their kids. 29% of those participants were African American, I'm proud to say. Another effort aimed at uplifting our most marginalized communities are the 8 peace and healing centers that have come into existence. In fact, I was with Capri and the team yesterday as we opened one in CD9. But again, this is going to be local-based programs offering environmental, economic, and social healing with unique programming to meet the community's needs. Everything from providing job training, job placement, mental health resources, education referrals, and much more. A safe place to come, healing centers. You'll be hearing much more about that. And then something else that Capri mentioned, the LA Repair Participatory Budgeting Process. You know, again, this is groundbreaking, that you get to decide how funds are going to be spent. Health, education, economic development, recreation, and a real say-so, and a chance to have some accountability, see how those were used, and what the result was. But again, these are just some of the examples in many of the ways that we are fighting here in LA to address issues of racism, address issues of equity, address issues of involvement and engagement. And seeing you here with us today is just a very exciting continuation of that process. But back to the matter at hand, again, I just want to thank the members of the commission who have given their time, effort, and energies over the past several months to really influence how we're going to move forward. Again, this is an historic moment, and it's an important step as we work towards reparations, a meaningful reparations program. What does that mean? What does that include? Well, you're going to be deciding much of those issues. And we know that there are going to be some proposals, some recommendations, some ideas, and ways, we want to explore ways that the city can potentially fund a reparations initiative. I serve on the budget committee, so I'm going to be looking very closely and seeing how I can be helpful as that process moves forward. But with the eyes of the nation on us, let's work together and inspire a local and national model for how we can address these issues in a responsible way. As a 72-year-old black man with a 97 years young mother, you know, we certainly have had to see a variety of atrocities and problems. But we go on nonetheless. One thing is for certain, as we continue to advance forward and thrive, we're going to do so no matter what the challenges are before us, right? That's just our history. That's just the way we do it. So again, I want to thank you all for being a part of the process today. Thank you for being a part of this very historic, important discussion, and know that you can make a difference. And working together collectively, we can create the kind of community where we can live, work, play, and pray, and make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you for supporting this work, and thank you for being a leader on the Budget and Finance Committee that really supports everything we've asked you to help us lift. And with that, I want to bring up another leader from the City Council, someone that is standing with our community in so many ways. He's a true community organizer type union leader that is now on the inside of City Hall and making a difference already. Without further ado, Council Member Hugo Soto Martinez. Thank you so much, sir. We didn't even know he was coming. He just heard we were here and he rolled. So thank you. Thank you, brother.
Good. It's still morning? Yeah, good morning, everyone. I'll keep my comments brief. First of all, I just want to thank the commission for all the work that they're doing. What you're tasked with is historical, and let's see what the outcome is. I completely support all the work that you're doing. And of course, to Caprimatics, we've gotten a chance to get to know each other over the last few months, and cannot have a better leader leading this department. I'm incredibly proud to chair the committee that works with this department. And of course, my colleague and friend, Councilmember Curran Price. As you know, he's from the new 9th, but even though I represent the 13th district, I grew up in the 9th district. And so when I talk about my history and my formative years in the city of Los Angeles, it's because I grew up in a traditionally black neighborhood. My parents, who immigrated here in the late 70s and early 80s, decided to make South Central their home, the historical South Central, right on 46th and Central. And so my experience was with the black community. It was always about 50-50, black and brown, and even from a very young age, I understood that we needed solidarity, that the working class, which was black and brown, oftentimes were pitted against each other and fighting these things. I said, this doesn't make any sense. And so my work in the union has been about building solidarity with working people. I've traveled the country, and we got to unite the black working class, the brown, and even the white working class of this government, because the government profits off of dividing working people, pitting folks against each other. And like Caprimatics said at the beginning, right, the very foundations of this country is about genocide. It's about racism. And so even though we're not back to 1864, the legacy of that history lives with us every single day. And so I think the conversations that we're going to have about reparations is the just one. It is a long time coming, and I hope the city of Los Angeles, with the leadership of everyone here and Caprimatics and colleagues like Councilmember Price, Marquise Harris-Dawson, and Heather Hutt, and Onises Hernandez, and many other folks that believe this can lead hopefully in the right direction. But I would say none of this, and I do mean none of this, would be possible unless we had the participation of the community. And so seeing a full room here of beautiful faces, mostly beautiful black faces, just makes my heart grow. And let's continue to do this work. I look forward to working in collaboration. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And you should know he is the chair of the Civil Rights City Council Committee. And one thing I want to just tell you is the solidarity, and I'm just going to be real for 1 second. We're going to appreciate this solidarity because I lived in City Hall when there wasn't the solidarity that our community needed and wanted and cried out for, and I will never forget it. So those that are rolling with us in LA Civil Rights and really are about the people, I'm all about that life. And so thank you so much, Council Member, for your support. You are the Council Chair of LA Civil Rights. You and Ulysses and the other allies that we have really mean so much to us, and we support you, and we appreciate the support that you're providing to us today. I just want to do a quick shout out to staff. I know we talked about some of the electeds, et cetera, and I know we're going to have a video from Councilmember Marquise Harris-Dawson in just a minute, but I just want the LA Civil Rights team, all of you stand up, most of you standing up because you're working, but to raise your hand, wave your hands. These are the people that walk the talk and make it happen. They're less than 40 people who do this work, and we're all over town nonstop, all the time, everywhere. Where there's inequity, you'll find us. So thank you so much for your service, even on a Saturday morning. I want to have a quick video from Councilmember Marquise Harris-Dawson. Some of you know him as a leader, a friend, and a supporter that's using his talents to serve a better Los Angeles. Councilmember Dawson.
District for the City of Los Angeles. I want to thank everybody who's participating in today's forum on reparations. This subject is so important to me, so many of my constituents, and so many of our ancestors who fought for this for years and years and years. And here we are, beginning a process where we will hear from the community, that's you. We will conduct an in-depth study, and we'll come out with a report on what are ways the city can help repair the harm that was done to so many formerly enslaved families like mine and so many others. We thank you so much for engaging in this process. We want a straightforward process. We want a process that we can hear from everyone. We want a process that builds trust in our community and really puts our best foot forward
One
in dealing with
set of
the
people I
harms
really
done by
want
slavery.
to lift up just for a moment is our legal team at LA Civil Rights. We have some of the smartest attorneys that are leaning in for us that have history in this community. I want to shout out Heather Aubrey. Please stand. Some of you know her father, the late Mr. Aubrey. We love you. We celebrate you. And also Ann Haley Brown, descendant of Alex Haley. So when she knows her history, and if you saw Roots, you know all her relatives. But I just really want to thank you all for being here, and I want to thank you for taking the time to participate. And as the council member said, Councilmember Kern Price, Councilmember Hugo Soto Martinez, half of life is showing up, right? So I want you to know that, that's what we hear. But from our community, we know that our ancestors taught us that a closed mouth don't get fed. So let's get this program started, and let's go get it, because it's only right. Keep the faith, keep the fight, everyone.
All right, let the games begin. Thank you, Director Maddox. I love her so much, just so you guys know. And I also, too, want to acknowledge the team and the attorneys, because it's not just this commission, it's a whole department that stands behind the work that we do. I am Friday Jones. I am a reparationist, a modern-day reparationist. My name is Khansa Jones-Muhammad, and I'm the vice chair of this reparations task force appointed by former Mayor Garcetti. I want to take the time for all of the commissioners to introduce themselves, but we have 3 commissioners that are not present with us today, and I want to acknowledge our chair, Michael Lawson, who is not here with us today. I also want to acknowledge our secretary, Mark Wilson, and I want to acknowledge Commissioner Attorney Virgil Roberts, who is not here today, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the person to my left, Commissioner Kayise.
Good afternoon, everyone. Really excited to be here. My name is Mandla Kayise. I'm a locally based education and community planning consultant. My work in education and in communities around Los Angeles is rooted in the concept of empowerment. So I've been involved with issues of equity and correcting ways in which we have been excluded or disempowered across our society. So happy to be a part of this commission. Also very active here locally with some of our community-based organizations and a board member of the UCLA Black Alumni Association.
All right. Commissioner VanderWoude.
Good morning. You hear me okay? There we are. Good morning. I'm Katrina VanderWoude, and I am just pleased and excited and honored to be a part of this commission and to serve as a commissioner for this extremely, extremely important and necessary and timely overdue work. When I'm not a part of the commission, I serve with the Los Angeles Community College District, which is the largest in the nation. We serve about 200,000 students annually, and most of them are students of color. I serve as the Vice Chancellor of Workforce Economic Development for the College District. And as you might imagine, when we think about this whole concept of jobs, of economic development, of prosperity, when we think of intergenerational poverty and what that means, and overall, just our commitment with what we're doing here and making a difference. And lastly, I just want to say what a pleasure it is to see the sea of faces in the room. Thank you for coming out on this Saturday morning.
Commissioner Harris.
afternoon. My name is Cheryl Harris. I'm a professor of law at UCLA when I'm not serving on the commission, and I'm really, really excited to be here. We've been meeting for a couple of years now on Zoom, so this is the first time we've actually had a chance to connect. This connection is really powerful and important, both, I think, for the work that we have before us, and it very much connects to my own work. I study civil rights history and the history of African Americans in the law, which has to do a lot with the ways in which the law has been both a tool in which we have been able to achieve some measure of justice, and has also been a system of injustice which has been imposed on us through law. My work has basically been as an educator over the last 30 years, but I've also worked with various other organizations around questions of reparations. My work has been basically looking at the ways in which we can understand better how the law dysfunctions so that we can work to make it function better. And part of the work of reparations is indeed to challenge the ways in which the legal structures have prevented us from achieving justice. So I really want to say that I'm very, very pleased to be part of this commission, and I look forward to our conversation today. Thank you.
Okay, and just a little bit about me. So I am the director of the National Assembly of American Slavery Descendants, which is an organization that fights for reparations at the federal level for American freedmen, and American freedmen, generally speaking, are the descendants of persons who were enslaved as U.S. chattel in the United States. I come from one of the largest black families in America that can actually trace their history to our great-grandmother Tracy, who was imported here from the Congo. Our family is the United Martin family. We have the bill of sale for our great-grandmother Tracy. She is considered the matriarch. This work is very personal to me. The leadership of the National Assembly of American Slavery Descendants birthed, if you will, the Coalition for a Just and Equitable California. Some of those members are here. Those are the grassroots activists that worked with Dr. Shirley Weber in making sure that lineage reparations was put into the state task force that we know as AB 3121, and it is also through our local advocacy that I believe there was a real push for this particular commission to be formed, and so our work has been consistent here in the state of California as well as in the state of New York, and our network spans across the country, and that is the level of expertise that I bring here to be in service to all of you and the Angelenos that are not in the room to do the work that we have been tasked to do. So, with that said, thank you. With that said, I'm so invigorated today. You heard Capri Maddox and you heard Kern Price mention the participatory budget and the fact that you all, there's about 300 people in this room, if not more. You all have the opportunity today to say to the city of Los Angeles how you want government dollars spent. Whether it's how the police department is run, whether it's what cannabis equity looks like, whether it's what dealing with some of houselessness, even though LA Unified has its own budget, whether you want some after-school program at the school across the street, like I live across the street from a school, whatever it is that you want, this is the day that you have the right people in the room and you have the right resources in the room to go make your voices be heard. So I want you to understand what participatory budgeting means. It means that you get to participate and tell the government, not us, because I'm a commissioner, non-paid, don't represent an employee of the city, but you get to tell the city, you get to tell the mayor what it is that you want from the budget for the city of Los Angeles. So do not waste that opportunity today. It is significant, it's meaningful, be a part of the change you want to see. So putting that out there, now we're going to get into commission business. I wanted to just briefly get into, I think it is the slide, our slide 7, which is our mission. Our mission was established, or we were established as a commission in 2021. We are considered a blue ribbon task force, which means that we were appointed by the mayor at the time, which was Mayor Garcetti. And the Reparations Advisory Commission focuses on the city of LA's boundaries and jurisdiction since the charter of 1925. So we're staying with the time the government itself of the city of Los Angeles was established, and we're looking at those borders. We are not covering unincorporated areas. That has come up in some of our online discussions, and so I don't know if there are any of you in the audience that are from unincorporated areas and fall under the jurisdiction of the Board of Supervisors. You will not be part of the geographic area of the city of Los Angeles because it is specifically for the boundaries of the city from 1925 forward. The city, we learn greatly. This body has learned immensely from the task force, and some of the decisions that have been made, which you'll learn about today, were greatly influenced by the state's task force. Some of our, the survey, which Diamond, and I want to acknowledge Diamond worked hard for those of you who for those of you who participated in the initial survey that we put forward and who came to our homecomings, Diamond is the person who worked with David and the team to actually develop the questions that were asked, so that, taking a page out of the state task force, we wanted to create areas of harm that we know people may have experienced within the city. And so the survey was put forth in that way so that we could independently explore the experiences of Angelenos in order to look at how we need to do the job that we are tasked to do. There are a number of municipalities that have their own reparations efforts. I was in Riverside yesterday. I don't know how many of you know about Area 14. Area 14 is in, not Riverside. I was in Riverside yesterday, but Area 14 is in Palm Springs, and they were displaced, so those people are doing some sort of repair. We have Riverside, we have Culver City is doing some work, we have the city of Santa Monica, Oakland, we all saw the headlines of San Francisco, the cities of Hayward and Vallejo. Those are different municipalities like this municipality that are exploring what reparations and repair looks like within their communities, but we are specifically looking at the city of Los Angeles and harms that have happened under the city's watch. So that is the area that we're going to cover, and I think I'm supposed to be turning it over to Commissioner VanderWoude, who is going to go over our mission on slide 8.
And how we work.
Oh, you're gonna learn about who he is. We got a whole presentation. You're gonna find out. He's not here for just, he's a
Saving
beautiful
the best
black
for
man,
last.
yes. But you're gonna find out, sir. Thank you.
But right now, we're going to talk about how this commission works, right? So, good morning again. You already heard from our Director Maddox in talking about the role of LA Civil Rights. And essentially, when we look at this, we're talking about community members, partners, the commission, and the mayor and city council. To do this work, to do this important work, the commission is supported by several entities. Again, the department staff that's been mentioned coordinates our meetings, secures research partners, and facilitates opportunity for the community to give input, such as what we're doing today. As you've heard, you're here today, we want your input, and this is the type of work and facilitation that the staff actually does. The commission will advise and has advised on the research objectives and goals. We'll interact with the community as we're doing today. We'll provide feedback to study partners, and we'll make some final recommendations to the mayor and the city council ultimately. Our study partners will conduct, and we'll have an educational study partner, conduct research and analysis of historical and contemporary documents, artifacts, conducting interviews, sharing information back with the commission, helping us to gather feedback and report findings back to us as a commission, as well as to the Department of Civil Rights and to you, the public, as well. And then, of course, there's a role of community members. Our community members will share your lived experiences, bearing witness to harms, and building a body of research specific to Los Angeles, providing feedback on the study and helping to develop ideas for what the city may offer as reparations. And as you heard a moment ago, Commissioner Jones-Muhammad mentioned, we're going to have that opportunity to hear from you today and hear what your thoughts are, and make sure that our city's leaders hear that. And then, of course, the mayor and city council, and you've heard from some of our council members today, actually approve and incorporate recommendations into policy, services, and operations. So that gives you a bit of an overview of how this commission is intended to work.
We got the notification. I'm hoping that pulling the mics closer to us, is this better for you all in the back? Great, so that means we are on it. Okay. I've got a big book. You guys just bear with us from second to second. And since we were asked the question, I actually want to introduce Dr. Selassie. He is with CSUN, and you can introduce yourself. I just want to pause since we were asked the question. You can introduce yourself, and we're going to get to who CSUN is and what their part of this process is further along in the agenda.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Dr. Gabriel Selassie, and I am a professor of Africana Studies at the California State University at Northridge. I am a historian. I specialize in Africana public history, and I guess you'll hear later on what my role is. I'm part of a team that will be doing a large bit of the work here in studying the history of the Black community in Los Angeles, which will be essentially the reparations study.
Thank you for that. Okay, so this body has actually been in place with each other for the past year, and to be very transparent and honest, we have learned how the city itself works, and we've developed with the city what our responsibilities are. And so the city doesn't currently have a reparations program, but it is the responsibility of this advisory commission to develop a program for a group of Black Angelenos. Eligibility has not been determined. We should be very aware that we know we function in a state that has Proposition 209, and Proposition 209 limits the ability to make race-based, I guess, policy when it comes to contracting, education, and employment. This commission has to consider the experiences of current and former Angelenos so we can figure out what that eligibility should look like for our process. And again, I want to be very clear, we are very distinct. We are our own governing body and separate from the state. So those eligibility standards that have been set for the state are for the state, and this body is responsible for developing eligibility standards for the city's reparations task force. We're responsible for that. We are also responsible for seeking public and private funding. Our other partner is not here with us today, but Monarch was retained for this portion. It was very important for us to have a partner that could advise us on what public and private funding might look like, what historical reparations funding has looked like, whether it was the Jewish Holocaust, whether it was what happened in South Africa, whether it was here in our own state with women who had their uteruses removed from them. We wanted to see where it is that funding for reparative acts historically have happened and what private funds, foundations might be accessible because they're already doing work in a repertory space. We are also responsible for identifying an academic partner and again developing funding partners to assist with the development and implementation of the program that we create. And remember, we are here today to hear from you, so you are going to be part of what it is that we are co-creating together. We are also responsible for maintaining an active relationship with community-based organizations and advocacy organizations, as well as key stakeholders. We heard from several community organizations in our online homecomings. If there are people here today that also have organizations that really want to be part of disseminating when we meet, making sure that your membership shows up, we want to hear from you today so that we can make sure we have your contact information to do that. We're also responsible for engaging relevant experts to inform the development of our program. We acknowledged our attorneys, Attorney Haley and Attorney Aubrey. Those are our legal in-house experts, but in order for us to do the job that we are tasked to do, we're also going to need to bring in other experts, whether it's in economics, business, workforce development, infrastructures. I think even sometimes when it comes to like zoning, certain areas of the city, all of those kinds of things. So again, whether that is your personal expertise, people you know in particular areas and fields that you think would inform our work, this is the opportunity to exchange and share that information. So that is the crux of what we have to do. I want to go ahead and turn it over to Commissioner Harris to talk about commission activities.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. So we want to just go a little brief overview of, some of you already know this because, as we've mentioned, we appreciate your participation in the homecoming activities that we've already had. But I just want to lay out a little bit of what we've done and why we're doing it and the importance of your voices in it. So we've had 4 public appearances, including 2 virtual homecoming events, and we've also had presentations at 2 of the state task force meetings. At our virtual homecoming events, we had over 100 participants at each one. And during those breakout sessions at those events, we've had a number of at least 60 personal stories, recommendations, or comments. And I want to say something about the stories. One of the things that's really crucial here is that we have to have a base for the actions that we take. We have to have evidence to show why. It may sound foolish because we've all lived these experiences, and it doesn't make sense to have to prove what we already know. But this is the world in which we live, and it is important not just in terms of proving it to people who are skeptical, but also in terms of making the connections with each other. Because very often the stories we experience sometimes stay within our families, they stay within our communities, they stay within the people we know. And it's only by telling our stories to each other that we are actually able to stitch together the much larger picture that we need to do. So we have our academic partner that's going to be assisting us in doing the kind of studies that are necessary to establish what are the legacies of enslavement, even in a state that was formerly free, which, by the way, the legacy of enslavement was very significant here, notwithstanding the fact that slavery was not a legal institution here. What were the legacies of Jim Crow and legalized apartheid and segregation? What are the powerful ways in which that has impacted our lives today? What are the ways in which, so some of the stories we heard talked about incarceration. They talked about families that were torn apart by incarceration and the intergenerational harms that resulted from it. They talked about what happened with Black women and Black women's bodies who were denied proper medical care or, as the Commissioner just mentioned, experienced forced sterilization. What are some of the consequences of that? We also heard, and indeed I think there's more to be said, this is the home of Hollywood. This is the home of where dreams are made. This is the home of where music is made, where culture is made, where art is made. And we know the powerful role that Black people have played in that production, but guess what? We have not always got the credit. We have not always got the money. We have not always received what we were due. And there is a whole area of theft of intellectual property, is what we've called it in the context of law, that we need to understand here. We also were, very much, I'll just speak for myself, very much moved by some of the stories of displacement, the stories of the ways in which people lost housing, were evicted, what were some of the long-term effects of that. And so it's important for us to have both the overview, like the view from 30,000 feet, so we can actually see the whole landscape. That's part of what our partners are helping us do. And indeed, the State Commission and other entities have already done a huge amount of work in talking about what some of those structural factors are. But we also need the view from below, the view from the ground, and that's when your stories and your documentation are actually important to our work. So I just want to encourage you to participate, not only in this event, but in events that are to come. And so one of the things that we're going to be doing is on June Juneteenth weekend, 2023, we're going to have an event, place to be determined and time to be determined, but please stay tuned for that. We'll also have a virtual event in the fall, as well as a winter community event. And then in Black History Month of 2024, we'll have another. As part of the participatory element of our study, we're also looking for more ways to get this information from you. We're developing a more robust public education plan. We've already done quite a bit, but I think there's more that we can do. And we're thinking about the way to use the neighborhood council meetings as a venue for doing some of this work, for hosting small group discussions, and for tabling and taking comment at other community meetings, like, for example, if there's a meeting in the 10th district or some kind of event, we want to think about putting a table there and providing information on how people can participate. So again, I guess my piece of this is just to encourage you to continue to talk to people that you know, to encourage them to participate. The more you participate, the better our work will be. Thank you.
All right. So this is my most favorite part of live events, public comment.
Right, and we definitely need to hear from folks. I just want to also acknowledge the leadership that we have in City Hall and our very own Mayor Karen Bass. For I was actually concerned it was such a long time coming for this moment to happen, but I just don't want it to be lost on any of us that we're in this space and we're in this time where these things are moving forward with the leadership of our first African American female mayor. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the commission, and we want to hear from you. You've heard from this side. We want to hear from the community on where we need to move forward so public comment can continue. Madam Chair, you are the chair today.
Thank you so much. First, I want everyone, if you have a pen, phone, however it is you need to record this information, I want to make sure that you have the email to reach us, because today we will only have public comment from 30 people. I have a list that we're going to go through. Each person will have 1 minute each to speak, but I want to make sure everyone in the room has the email. The email is LACR-reparations, LACR-reparations@lacity.org. So if you're unable to comment today, I would like you to make sure that you email us your comments today. The first person, I'm going to call people up 3 at a time so you can line up. Martin Sneer, Sequoia Mercier, and Gomo Holy, you are the first 3 speakers.
Hello, City of LA. How y'all doing today? That's good. That's good. I want to thank the Civil for Human Rights and Equity Department for even having this discussion today. You know what I'm saying? First, I just want to say, don't tiptoe around my ancestors, yo. You know, LA has a lot of blood on their hand. I think I can speak for LA when I say, speak for all of us out here when I say that. Angeles County has a lot of blood on their hand when it comes. My great-granddaddy came from Louisiana. He fought in the Civil War. And he made sure that when he came out here that he was striving to provide a better life for his future generations. Only to see only the future generations have to struggle and go through the torment and torture that we have faced here in LA County. So I just want to say, don't tiptoe around my ancestors when it comes to this issue. Let's make sure that we hold people that are accountable for the things that they have done to us over these last couple generations that we have been here. That we make sure that these people are held accountable for the wrongdoings that they have, atrocities that they have inflicted upon our people. So I just ask that the council that has been put together, that you don't tiptoe around this issue, you don't be soft around this issue, and that you be 100% authentic and real when it comes to our ancestors who have fought and died for this situation that we're in today. Reparations is a beautiful thing, but if you want to repay me and my ancestors for the things that we have done, give us land and give us cash.
Thank you so much for your comment.
Yes. My name is Sequoia Mercier, And I wanted to let the family know that there's a move about to change the designation for African Americans and Black Americans on the census. And you have until April the 27th to weigh in. You can just Google initial proposals for updating O as Olivia, M as in Mary, B as in Black, OMB's race and ethnicity. So if you Google that, on the top of the form, there'll be a place that says submit a formal comment, and there you'll be able to weigh in on this issue. Thank you. And
thank you for that.
Yeah, and
that was huge.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you to the commission for giving your time and energy for this work for our people. Free the land. Mandla, it's been years.
Free the land.
Thank you.
Yes, Google initial proposals for updating OMB's race and ethnicity. And the form will come up, and at the top right corner, there'll be a place that says submit a formal comment. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gomo.
Good afternoon. My name is Gomo Kali, and I was in the military for 16 years as a intel analyst and a chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear specialist. And now that I'm out, my question for the commission is the bureaucracy that goes behind setting these things in place, that we get things done and we have a deadline and we, don't have all these barriers that are in the way, for our people, and also getting our people to be self-sufficient, because we live on a grid that gets expensive and cost of living gets expensive over time. So that is one thing that I want for our people, to be more self-sufficient, that we don't have to rely on electricity and gas and food, and that we have some land, we can grow our own food and learn how to use renewable resources to benefit our people. And I yield.
Thank you so much. The next three speakers are King Malik, Zachariah, Big Money Griff, and Jerry Abram, MD.
My name is King Malik Zakaria. I am an activist for reparations for the modern-day descendants of American Negro slaves, directing the Reparations Studio Chorale. We are looking for singers. My point is, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa are developing a new currency. Where we are today, if we keep this going on, if we keep talking about it, if we keep studying reparations, by the time we get anything, the American dollar may have no more power, no more value. So, both my parents were born and raised in Vicksburg, Mississippi during the Jim Crow South. And they suffered through just horrific intimidation, okay? So we're in denial of a couple things here. We're in denial of the diagnosis of post-traumatic slave disorder and epigenetic explanation. The research on, thank you, yes, the research on epigenetic explanation suggests this, and this is true. The intimidation, the crimes and atrocities that our great-grandparents, our grandparents, and our parents' experienced have been etched on our DNA and passed down to us through generation to generation. So we are people in pain. Now, in 1921, they bombed, they burned, and was a murderous rampage that destroyed the Black Wall Street, okay? And so our people have never received any justice for that. We've not been compensated for that. So we don't need to put this off. We don't need to put this off any longer. Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much for your comment, King Malik.
I'm Morris Griffin, better known as Big Money Griff, strong community activist, leader, and problem solver. So goes California, so goes the nation. The one word that I wanted to hear was police brutality. The other word I wanted to hear was the prison inmates that were all Black. And the last thing I wanted to hear was about the crack cocaine. Money should come from our city budget for the wrongs, the atrocities that have happened to Black African Americans here in Los Angeles. First and foremost, I believe that so goes California, so goes the nation when we talk about Gavin Newsom, who has the aspirations of being a president of the United States, and he can bring in Karen Bass. as the 1-2 when we deal with homelessness. You clean up homelessness in this city, you clean up homelessness in the state of California, so goes California, so goes this nation in giving us reparations. I'm asking for $5,000 every single month to the day we die, tax-free. That's $120 billion that can come from each one of the budgets that's dealing with the state of California when we talk about the special budget, the budget, the bond fund, and other funds. Money can come from each one of those budgets. So spread the word, what you heard, on how we need to strategize to get our people to realize that in spite of all past years' adversity, success can still be obtained.
Thank you so much for your comment.
Sure. Good day. My name is Dr. Jerry Abraham. I am the Director and Chief Vaccinologist. My name is Dr. Jerry Abraham, and I'm the Director and Chief Vaccinologist at Kedron in South Los Angeles, a historically Black acute psychiatric hospital. I also am faculty at the Charles Drew University, our historically Black medical school in town. In our work at Kedron and at CDU, we see every day the harms that have been created from the history and the past that people live. We see the disproportionate burden of mental illness. We see the lack of resources, the lack of care, the inequitable distribution of care that our communities receive, especially right in South Los Angeles. We know that reparations will be an important part of bringing our community forward and healing. We cannot be healthy unless we are wealthy and wise, and we must bring generational wealth to our communities in South Los Angeles. CDU and Kedron really believe that one way to improve the health of our people is to ensure that they have reparations. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comment. Thank you. I want to take a quick second to acknowledge State Reparations Task Force Chair Camila Moore is in the building. Thank you for being here. Okay, so our next three speakers, Tiara Ryder, Ian Jameson, Amanda Woodson.
Hi everyone, I'm Tiara Ryder. I'm a Black American freedman, a descendant. I am an advocate for the grassroots website, thefreedmensbureau.org, so that is something that I do want to see returned. It was never in California or in Los Angeles, but we absolutely do need to see that. I just want to be clear again that reparations does need to include direct cash repair to the descendant class. Cash reparations is owed at the local, state, and federal levels of government. The city of LA, what you owe the American freedmen class is somewhere around $2 to $5 million per descendant. I just want to remind you all that in 1865, President Lincoln said that without the military help of Black American freedmen, the Civil War against the South would not have been won. So a reminder that this country stands today because of the work that our ancestors did, and then the U.S. reneged on the debt that they owed us, right? Our people weren't fighting just to save the Union, they were fighting to save our enslaved ancestors in the violent Confederate South. Thank you everyone for your time. Cash reparations, cash, cash, cash.
Thank you so much. Ian Jameson and Amanda Woodson, last call. Ian and Amanda, moving on. David Hawthorne, Shantae Hines, Marilyn Calhoun.
Wow, how about that? Okay, my name is David Hawthorne.
Come closer to the mic, sir.
Okay. My name is David Hawthorne, and generally I'm focusing on the solutions and not the problems, but up there it does say harm. And I came across a personal experience I'd like to share with everyone in the hopes that you can feel it the way I felt it then. In the late 90s, I went to a presentation. It was part of a national scuba diving organization that I was a part of. And we had gotten some relics from a slave ship called the Henrietta Maria. and it became very personal to me because I was crying while I was presenting the information, and I want you to try to picture this. A shackle about this size. I can still feel it today. Where do you think they used that shackle? Need I say more? Okay. Currently, from that and the experiences of many people in this country, many of our people in this country, I now stand as a person who's developing a drone business. So the tragedy of that has led to the success of today. And I hope it'll be for everybody.
Thank you so much for that. Shante Hines, Marilyn Calhoun, Billion. I see Billion in the building. Looks like you up next.
Billion Gosh and Africa Town Coalition. So the concern is this. We know this conversation's been happening for a minute, and right now in this city, black people are being driven out this city expeditiously. So how long will this process take? Because we know since COVID, people have been dying left and right. We know rent is going up, people have been evicted. So when is it you all expect the checks are gonna get cut, the land is gonna be handed over? But I do say to us too, in the meantime, while this is happening, we also are going after the corporations like Wells Fargo, Chase. We have to put pressure on all angles because we know they also benefited off of slavery. If we wait for this, a lot of us in this room right now won't be here by the time these checks get cut. So we have to get more involved, turn up the heat, and press from all angles. I love y'all. I thank y'all. Black Power.
Black Power. Okay, next I have Raymond, Micah, and G. Cruz. And before they step to the mic, we have Commissioner Virgil Roberts has just joined the stage. Commissioner Roberts, if you could introduce yourself, sir.
Well, good afternoon. Sorry I'm late, but I wanted to hear the public comment. Can you hear me now? I'm Virgil Roberts. I want to apologize for being late, but I really wanted to be here to hear the public comment. I'm an attorney here in town. I have been involved in a lot of efforts to try and create justice for black folks, going back to my early days as a lawyer when I represented the NAACP in the Los Angeles school desegregation case. I serve on a number of nonprofit boards. I've created some organizations, including the African American Board Leadership Institute, designed to train and place black professionals on governing boards and commissions. And I'm very much interested in what we can do to try and address the harms that have been inflicted on black folks for the last 450 years. So I look forward to hearing your comments. We're going to listen to them as a commission and take them into consideration and do all that we can to try and assist the city of Los Angeles in making retribution or reparations for the harms that have been caused to black folks over the decades. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Roberts. And I'm going to call these names again: Micah, G. Cruz, Raymond, and okay, so that's 1 and 2. And then the next folks are going to be Tiffany Quarles, Badana Jarvis, and Rex Osagi.
I'm Micah. I'm family. I'm here to speak about reparations. Of course, you know, I believe that we should most definitely receive what appreciates, since we appreciate our ancestors, and everyone that has flooded our borders seems to appreciate this land that has been our ancestors. As I speak as foundational Black Americans, we most definitely should receive commodities in the form of silver, gold, diamonds, that which has been taken from this land and taken from our lands, and also land in general. So that way, whatever form of dollar or currency that is that arises, it will be backed, or that we can make our own currency. But I feel that we should most definitely, be, independent of this ungrateful situation that we found ourselves in, family. And I'm speaking to you, and I'm letting y'all know that this is what it's going to be. Thank you.
Thank you very much. G.
Hello.
Cruz, Tiffany Quarles.
Gary Cross. It's beautiful to see all of us here together working for, the similar situation that we deserve reparations for. We've been in this country a long time. We got to remember who we are as a people, what we've done in the past before we even reached the shores of America. We got to start manifesting what are we going to do with our money? What are we going to invest it in? Who are we going to be after this? Because once they give us the money, we ain't going to have no more excuses. So, let's just start praying on ourselves and remembering that we are blessed people, beautiful people. Don't forget that you were the first people on this planet. You are entitled to so much more. This is an old conversation, reparations, that was 1865. It's 2023. So that's a little strange, but we deserve it. Just love ourselves. That's it.
Thank you so much. Badana Jarvis, Tiffany Quarles, Badana Jarvis, and then Rex Osagi.
All right, good morning, good afternoon. My name is Tiffany Quarles, and I'm with the National Assembly of American Slavery Descendants, Los Angeles. We worked with Mayor Garcetti to set this commission up. We worked with Secretary Weber to set the state commission up. So this is the result of our activism, because we are convinced that this country owes the descendants of U.S. slavery a debt. So I want to thank Mayor Garcetti and Mayor Bass for recognizing the importance of dealing with this subject. It's been 400 years. We started in 2019, the 400th year. And so I want to say, in terms of eligibility, it has to be descendants of U.S. slavery. It cannot be anybody else. Period. Lineage matters. I want to say to the commission, please ensure that the African Americans who descend from U.S. slavery are the sole beneficiaries. We built this country, nobody else. We fought in every war. We are owed no one else. Period. And so, that's right. That's my time, but I want to say lineage matters. If it's race-based, it will get thrown out in the courts, and we did not come this far for you to mess up and get it thrown out. Lineage matters. American freedmen. Thank you.
What's up, everybody? My name is Raymond with the African Town Coalition. Yes, slavery is overdue for our ancestors that descend from slavery here in America. I'm a foundational Black American. My ancestors descend from Texas and Tulsa, Oklahoma. So yeah, we don't need no HR 40. We need cash reparations now, because the reparations 40 here is nothing but a sham. And we need land. And then these institutions own reparations too for slavery too. The banks owe us, these churches owe us, and all that though. It ain't just that, the government though. So we need our reparations now. And I'm gonna speak on that. Our ancestors built this slavery. Our ancestors built this land off of 400, 500 years of free labor. We built a White House. We built all these accomplishments and inventions that are that got stolen from us. So yeah, we need reparations from all the inventions that got stolen from our ancestors. So yeah, we need more, and we will get our reparations. And I'm gonna speak on the Black and Brown. There's no such thing as a Black and Brown coalition. Dr. Henry Clark said there's best all we have is each other. So we need to focus on ourselves as our ancestors want us to, and that's all I got to say.
Thank you so much.
I'm Badana Jarvis. I remember I heard you say that your great-grandmother knew that she was from the Congo. Mm-hmm. I think that we all need to know where we come from. Slavery has stripped us of our heritage, and I think that we need to get it back. And I think we need to create a fund where we can get Ancestry.com or whatever genealogy tracing tool free to us. So because our history is rooted in chattel slavery, and that's the root, and a dysfunctional root creates a dysfunctional fruit. So we need to go back before chattel slavery slavery and find out where we really come from. And also, the black people that have been falsely imprisoned for crimes they haven't committed and they get exonerated later, they need to get paid more than the state minimum. They need to be paid at least $500 or $1,000 a day for every day that they spend in prison for a crime they didn't commit. And also, the last thing is that the people that were victim of redlining, I think that we should create a fund for them that give them down payments for homes that they couldn't get because of redlining. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
This is Rex, y'all.
Okay, we got the youth in the building. Everybody give it up for him.
Hello, I'm Rex Osagi, and I think that black people should have access to free financial literacy classes and credit repair and credit counseling. That's all.
Okay, wait a minute. We didn't hear the last part. Come back. He said financial literacy and what?
Financial literacy classes, credit repair, and credit counseling.
Thank you. All right, you heard it from the mouths of the babes. Okay, after Rex, we have Emmanuel Macias, Val Carlson, and Kimlin Johnson. And then after those three, we have the last three on the list. Gerald Higginbottom is in the house, Ivy, and Marquis Barber. Those are the last speakers that we have on the list.
Hello, my name is Val Carlson. I'm with the Freedom Socialist Party here in Los Angeles. Our Comrades of Color Caucus has developed a revolutionary call for black reparations that addresses the history of previous attempts at reparations, the history of how intricately involved racism is throughout our entire culture, and provides a 10-point program for comprehensive collective reparations that includes publicly funded national health care services for everyone, full funding for schools in a black positive educational system, full employment, restoration of affirmative action, housing for all, stamp out police terror, eliminate the school-prison pipeline, end environmental racism, secure the right to vote, and a formal apology for racism and Jim Crow. It's going to take a massive movement led by African Americans to put this into effect. We encourage you, as you develop your program, to look at this comprehensive approach so that we solve this problem once and for all.
Thank you so much.
Okay, hi, my name is Kimlin Johnson, and I'm the founder and president of the Be Relit organization. We're actually on the participatory budget ballot, so please check us out there for solving math anxiety. But I'm here today because what concerns me about the reparations is how we treat each other. I think we need counseling and to put a lot of investment in the counseling so that we can rebuild the black community. And I'm not saying this just to say this. I wrote a book called Authenticity, Accountability, and Ambitions, and the chapter I'm talking about is Scared to be Black, the 10 behaviors that keep the black community struggling. We really need to learn how to love each other and rebuild our communities again. So that's what my suggestion is. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Kimlin.
Good afternoon. My name is Ivy Jean. I am the president of Africa. That's spelled AFFREECA. It stands for American Freedom Fighters, Resources, Educational Excursions, and Community Advocacy. We advocate for reparations in the form of free education and free travel, two things that were prohibited from us during the institution of slavery. Currently, I am looking for board members, volunteers. Please get with me and I'll give you my card. We have services such as passport education. We're doing currency information because we do hope to bring people from America to Africa or all over the world to support and celebrate Afro culture worldwide. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have the honor of bringing to you our Queen Mother, Mildred Pitts Walter. She's a noted children's author, a civil rights activist. She is 100 years old and she is still very active.
Come on.
Would you like to sit?
Yes.
I will have 1 minute, but
Take your time. Take your time.
I just turned 100 years old and have been studying the history of this nation for a long time. More than 200 years ago, the Reconstruction, you remember, talked about 30 and a mule and 30 acres and a mule. 58 years ago, President Johnson set up the Kerner Committee that was the first committee to even discuss the conditions that we were under during slavery. The Constitution does not mention slavery one time. We are the other in the Constitution and property. So I am here to say that in 2008, Congress apologized, if you remember,
Yeah, it was brief.
for slavery. An apology means you did somebody wrong. And you Christians know that when you have wronged somebody, you go and you ask forgiveness so that you can live in harmony. That has never happened in this nation. We need reconciliation before we will be allowed reparations. There are people who would discuss the fact that we are still considered property. And the Constitution says you give reparations to people who have lost their property. So let us make an effort to discuss slavery as it was in this nation and as it was prominently carried on by the Constitution with at least 10 amendments making slavery prominent. Let us discuss that and lose the illness of this nation that is guilt, fear that white people have, and anger that African Americans suffer. That must be done in reconciliation. They will lose their guilt and fear. We will be able to forgive and lose our anger, and the nation will be healed. The nation will be healed and become one. Thank you. Thank you.
So, ma'am, ma'am, ma'am. I just wanted to thank you. My grandmother is 94 years old. My great-grandmother was 107 years old in 2012. And so thank you. You are our elder. We receive you, and thank you for taking the time to be here today. Yes, he does. Thank you. She said her great-grandson has to be protected. And the part of the work of reparations is not necessarily for ourselves, but it is for the generations to come. Right on. So thank you. Okay. I know, yes, you, Higginbottom, I think we're the last couple on the list, and then we will take a couple from the line that has formed. Thank you so much.
My name is Emmanuel.
Absolutely. You're welcome, ma'am.
My name is Emmanuel, and I'm a native Angeleno, a UCLA graduate and an artist. I work with the Los Angeles Public Library and the Octavia Butler Memory Lab, and a lot of us in our communities don't have access to digital equipment to work on our art. The last time that I was in this space, I was listening to KRS-One speak, and the two things that he left the audience with was don't be selfish with your purpose and never underestimate your ancestors. So primarily the work that the Memory Lab does is preserve the lives, histories, and futures of African Americans. There's only 4 libraries of this kind that turns old formats into digital formats. Our ancestors are remembering us forward and guiding us. And I just want to say in closing to the memories of Bunchy Carter and John Higgins, 2 African American Black Panther students, and the petition to change Campbell Hall to Bunchy Carter Hall, and also Sojourner Truth to earn money while she gave free lectures. She sold pictures of herself with the caption, "I saw the shadow to support the substance."
Thank you so much. Thanks for mentioning the arts. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I am so honored to be here. I got up and drove up here from Long Beach. I wanted to be here. And I just want to acknowledge this group and say thank you. Thank you for what you guys are doing, because it's so important. And I want to honor the 1 minute. I have two questions that I want to ask the group here. One of the questions is, are you going to be honoring the United States Constitution, because it is the law of the land? That's a simple yes or no answer.
I believe the city is bound by the U.S. constitutional law, although the attorneys should be asked and directed that question, but I believe the answer to that is yes.
Okay. And my follow-up question is that then how are you going to get around the 14th Amendment, Section 4? And I'd like to read it to you, so it's only 2 or 3 lines. It says, "The validity of the public debt of the United States, authorized by law, including debts incurred for payments of pensions and bounties for service in suppressing insurrection or rebellion, shall not be questioned, but neither the United States nor any state shall assume or pay any debt or obligation incurred in aid of insurrection or rebellion against the United States, or any claim for the loss of emancipation of any slave," not African American, not black, not Negro, but slave, "but all such debts, obligations, and claims shall be held illegally and void. And then 5, it says, the Congress shall have power to enforce by appropriate legislation the provision of this article ratified by the 14th Amendment. So here's, you got an issue. You got an issue. And I'd like to give you the solution how we get around that, if you will.
Thank you. Email us that solution. lacr.reparations@lacity.org. All right, so we're going to take, how much time do we have? Time?
What's your name? Marquis.
I mean, we started a little late. Okay, so we're going to take two folks from the line.
We'll go here. He's on the list.
You have Marquis that says he signed up for the list, so if we can take him last,
Okay.
and then we can do 2 more after him.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Marquis, and I first and foremost want to say I'm really excited to hear about reparations here because I'm born and raised in LA, and I know the struggles that we deal with. I know I have a short time, but I want to just tell a little story. I've come from LA, born and raised, and went to Horseman Crenshaw High School. My father was a previous gang member. My mother just graduated a high school degree, and it was 5 of us total. So my mother was able to figure out a way to get us into college. So I was able to go to college at Tuskegee University in Alabama, right?
HBCU, come on.
And when I went there, I had a total shift in my mind and how I saw black people. I saw black excellence. I saw black businesses. I saw black educators, and they were supporting me and feeding me what I needed to be, so I could come here today and speak to you all. You hear me? So after that, I went to Charles Drew University, and I studied urban public health, right? And I went out in the community, right, with CDU, talking to people, and I've seen a difference that it made for us to be there, to get resources, to be available to people, to educate people, and so I'm excited about reparations because I know that once we get reparations, people like me, millennials, we can begin to buy houses, right? We can begin to start our lives. A lot of us who went to college, right, have all this debt. How are we going to pay for a house and have this debt and then be successful, have a family, and be happy? Reparations is needed, and it's needed right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to take this gentleman first because he's been standing here for a while, and then I'll take you afterwards. If the chair has time, she'll let you know. Please state your name.
Mark Ward. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Los Angeles was established in 1781 with 44 people. Out of that 44, 21 were black, just like this room. So I want the commission to look at the room. What does the room tell you? The room tells you this is a black thing. This is not money be going to DACA. This is not money going to environmental justice. This is money for harm done before 1996 with 209 was put in the legislature. You can grandfather it. Some people in here are attorneys. Some people are attorneys and doctors, so they know the rules. They know the stress level. Like in 2020, when Harvard put out a study saying that stress, trauma, can stay in the genetic code for 14 generations. This is what you're seeing right here. So it'd be our best bet to make sure we get our reparations like the Asians did in the 70s under Ronald Reagan, and then the Jews got after World War II from the United States. We've been here. We need to get appropriate. One more thing. After the Civil War ended, it was 40 acres and a mule. Well, this is 2023, so we should have 70 acres and 4 Arabian horses plus all the money. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you to the panel. My name is James Alexander Brannon. I'm a proud veteran and Prince Hall Freemason and an American freeman. My family was enslaved in the South and migrated to California as sharecroppers. I grew up at the 90059, which is the site of the 1965 watch riots right in between Central and Avalon. I grew up in the 70s and the 80s during the time when black home ownership was high. Many of the people in my neighborhood were hardworking blue-collar employees who owned their homes. Shortly after Reagan was elected, crack cocaine and guns began to appear in our neighborhoods. Many of us just watched the conclusion of a cable show, Snowfall, which sadly portrayed the decimation of black families with pinpoint accuracy in Los Angeles. The 105 freeway contributed to this as well, uprooting hundreds of black families with eminent domain. Gentrification and illegal immigration has forced many families to relocate. The streets are littered with homeless Black Angelenos who are the victims of failed drug policies, aggressive policing, overpriced housing, and subprime housing with few employment opportunities. I believe reparations should be in the form of lineage-based cash annuities, $1 housing, health care, reduced taxes, and have grave markers for descendants of chattel slavery and Jim Crow. Thank you.
Thank you. We're gonna take Miss B. I know who she is. I can't sit up here and, come on, Miss B.
B Hall. As Brother Billion said, it'll be a couple of years or so for us to get money. However, we can get reparations today 3 ways. Number 1, name the commercial district of Leimert Park, Africa Town at Leimert Park Village. Africa Town. We need a space in the geographic space. There are over 16 cultural tourism sites, but if you don't have a name on a piece of land, you control nothing. So Africa Town. Number 1, TNGR. It is illogical to think that we as Black people occupy the whole world except for California. We are the original people here in this state. All right, TNGR, they changed the R to a V. The letter T in front of a name means land. Ancient languages did not use vowels. So T means land, NGR. This is our land, California. The last little thing is they say there's no money, there's the budget deficit. CAFR. Do your research on the comprehensive, CFAR. Comprehensive financial, come on, give me the words. Financial report.
Okay.
This state has over $1 trillion. All cities, you need to do your research. There's plenty of money to pay reparations. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so it looks like I got the signal from our director, Capri Maddox, and so public comment is officially over, and we're going to move our agenda. I'm so sorry.
Yes.
I'm going to need you to email us, and I will give the email.
It's
Mr. Price, I know you want to do it? Let's get
I tell you what, let him speak. Hey, calm down. You wasted speaking time. Mr. Pierce.
Okay.
Mr. Pierce.
Pastor Price,
Mr.
we
Pierce.
heard you, sir.
We heard you.
Pastor
Go ahead
Price.
and let him speak. It's 400 years of trauma. It's all right. Let the brother speak. It's okay. Come on, I want to hear from him. Let him speak.
My name is Bo. I'm from the hood.
All right, okay.
I want to thank all of you for coming out here today. Appreciate your attendance and your hearing, but let's get to the nitty-gritty and be serious. When we speak of reparations, most people think of cash and money. That's secondary to what we really need. We didn't get here on the Mayflower, the Love Boat, the Nina, the Pinta, or the Santa Maria. We came on slave ships. We were Africans when we got off those slave ships, and it took us 400 years to become hyphenated Americans. A Black hyphenated American. An African hyphenated American. As long as you have the hyphenation, you'll never be American. You'll never get reparations until someone admits guilt. Saying I'm sorry is not the same as admitting guilt. If I slap you upside the head and say I'm sorry, it's all cool. That's apology. But if I admit in the court of law, this unconstitutional constitution that we have to deal with here in America, we need a contemporary constitution, and that'll never happen in America. So let's be serious. It ain't about money. It's about two things. Repatriation, being able to get home to Africa, uncontested, dual citizenship, and a passport that is unstoppable. My time's up. I've been here 400 years. No, we need passports, inexpensive, unconditional, and immediate.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Pass the price.
TV.
Pass the price.
I know most of you. I've been in Los Angeles longer than most of you. I've been in Los Angeles since the 1940s. My name is Reverend Tony Pierce. The organization I represent is Black Wall Street Project. We have hundreds of chapters nationally. We're National Black Wall Street Project. Hundreds and hundreds of chapters across this nation. And we also have thousands and thousands of members. And we're getting ready to mobilize. They already know about us at the California meeting. They already know about us at the San Francisco meeting. They already know about us at the other places. I don't need to tell you. Or maybe I do. Madam Capri, Virgil, I don't have to tell you because you're black. Or are you? Now what we want you to do here is not BS. You've been meeting for 2 years. 2 years and you ain't got nothing. Where's the money? Where's the help? Our people are dying on the streets.
Mr. Pierce, we're not going to
Where's the money?
We're not going to beat
and
up on
don't
people who
come
can't
here
help.
with less than $5 million. San Francisco's given $5 million. It should be millions. If you take that 40 acres, land was expensive back then. Land was money, cotton was money. If you take that 40 acres and you multiply it out, let's say it was $1 million then, you owe $200 million now. Where's the money? Where's the services? We need help.
That's right. Mr. Pierce, we appreciate that energy. We do, and we need you. When we go to City Hall, we talk about what we want. I need you to show up. And you won't have to talk to this table. This table is here to help. We're not going to hurt the people that are here to help the people, but thank you so much for the comment. Is Kivite, is he speaking? Are we letting the young man speak? Okay, good. So grateful to see the young folks here. For all the folks that are in the room, I know you're a Morehouse graduate, brother. Please stand up. For all the folks that are in the room, and he's a doer. Remember him. This is going to be one of our leaders in the future. He's a leader now, actually. For all the folks that are in the room that are under 25, please stand up. I want to shout you out because it's a beautiful Saturday, and you all are here, and you all are your voice and your presence be heard. So thank you for your leadership, for being here. Do we have one more? David's the head of equity, so we're gonna cut it off, David, right now. Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Truth Bay.
All right. Well, a lot of points were made, and I want us to be very serious to help our family members who don't know about reparations be on reparations. It's about the youth. First thing I said was legislation. There has to be a protective body to protect us as classes, and Captain Higginbottom and Queen Mother said it best. The Constitution is a conflict of getting us reparations. You should be telling us that, not us telling you that. If you're not politically sound, political science is most important. That's what W.E.B. Du Bois, that's what Booker T. Washington built on. If you don't know how the politics of how they know us better than we know us, we can't have that. Our children must know politics. They must be at City Hall. They must be at the board telling them about housing, incarceration, and mistreatment. Oh, there's no justice, no peace in the streets means nothing if we don't have nothing on paper and then we're not politically knowledgeable. That's all I'm saying. So we got to work together to work with, and these commissioner boards, as well as Camilla Moore, a lot of them are for the people for real, for real. So we got to work together to make it happen for our children and our children's children. Black power.
Thank you. Thank you so much, David. Thank you for your help.
Thank you
I want to
so
just
much.
make a quick, I
there was a quick typo that I wanted to let you all know that if you can put the screen back up, just so that we can clarify, so we can let people make their comments. It is LACR-reparations with the S at lacity.org. Best way to remember that is not reparation for one, it's reparations. So LACR-reparations with the S at lacity.org is where you can continue to give your comments. And we do need your comments because that's what we take when we go to city council. That's what we take to present to the mayor and other bodies. So I really appreciate the fact that you all know that it's reparations. Okay, thank you so much. Madam Chair, floor is back yours. And by the way, it's so great to see Commissioner Virgil Roberts here with us. We appreciate you. You lift a better Los Angeles everywhere you go all day long. Commissioner. Thank you again for public comment.
All right, so you see why it's my favorite part of public engagement. I love public comments. I'm here for all of it, to be very honest with you all. So thank you so much for everyone who made a comment. For folks who, again, need to email to us, LACR-reparations with an S at lacity.org if there's more that you want to share, and for those who did not have the opportunity to speak. We're going to move on to the study overview, and I'm going to pass it over to Commissioner Kayise.
Good afternoon. This is the study overview portion of the meeting, and I want to begin by sharing with you that at the end of the presentation about the study, there will be another opportunity for you to participate. That will be more in the context of a Q&A about the study itself. And appreciating the public comment that we've had so far, I do want people to understand that understanding the study and contributing to the study is going to be the most important way that you can impact the ultimate outcome. Appreciating all the public comments, I want to repeat that understanding the study and contributing to the study is going to be the most important way you can impact the outcome, because the study is going to drive the outcome. That being said, it's moments like this where I appreciate being on that side of the table where I usually am, other than on this side of the table. Moments like this, I really do appreciate that, but I'm going to do my best from this side of the table on this one. There were some comments earlier, and I think anyone who is headed to the door should freeze until you've gotten your assignment. You've given us ours. I'm going to take a risk and give you one. In preparation for contributing to the study, and before we even get started on the study, I want to suggest that we are all a part of the study. That there's no more important time in our lifetimes to study our own histories, document our own harms, engage our own process of healing. This is what everyone who is attending today should already be doing or should endeavor to do as soon as this is over. Educate yourself about your family history. Prepare to advocate for yourselves. I've been meeting with the folks on this side of the table for some time now, and I can tell you this much. They are prepared to represent your ask as fully as you've suggested, and more fully than most of us have suggested so far today. The question will be, at the end of the day, your level of participation, your level of education about your own harms and your family and your intergenerational harms, your willingness and readiness to advocate on behalf of reparations for yourself and those with whom you've shared space on this planet as Black people. And last but not least, your willingness and readiness to actually organize, as opposed to organizing from that microphone today, organizing out there every day to make sure that more people are aware of this issue and prepared to advocate. Having to take some liberties with that, I'll get to my part that I'm assigned to do. So first of all,
There will be a Q&A. Want to direct everyone again to the QR code on the flyer at your seat. You may submit multiple questions about the study through that QR code. Those of you who do not have a smartphone can raise your hands and get a note card and pen from our LA City staff who are positioned around the room, and they will bring that to you if you raise your hand and indicate that you'd like to get a note card and pen. So there's a hand up over there, so I suppose that's what that's about. Is the slide up? Okay, so the study focus. Let me first say the commission is primarily focused on governmental actions since the adoption of City's 1925 charter. That's an important date because that is the date in which the city was actually established. Its study will also explore the impact of harms experienced by Black residents of Los Angeles before the 20th century. Topics of study will include, but not necessarily be limited to, but they will include governmental sanctioned race-based violence, impacts of fugitive slave laws, land and asset seizures, redlining, restrictive covenants, and housing segregation, housing and employment discrimination, forced displacement, environmental and health outcomes, school segregation, mass incarceration, and law enforcement surveillance. And I'm going to, again, take a liberty and expand this notion of law enforcement surveillance to law enforcement engagement with Black people over the history of our time in this city. Because as we know, many of the laws, not only is there just a direct engagement with Black residents by law enforcement, but when we look at the history of the laws that have been discriminatory, that have been designed to control and limit the fortunes of Black people, let's be reminded that law enforcement was in place to enforce those laws, so that when Black people stepped outside of those segregation laws, it was law enforcement that they got introduced to, and incarceration that ultimately was the outcome. So there's a major piece that law enforcement, housing segregation, and incarceration played in the harms. So that's the scope of our study. I will pass it back to Commissioner Jones-Muhammad to further kind of walk us through the study process.
Okay, I'm going to also take some liberties, and we're going to go over quickly slides 22, 24, and then 23. So we're going to do 22, 24, and then 23, because then I want to turn it over to Dr. Selassie. So I want to first clear up some misinformation. Pastor Pierce, this group has actually been together for a year. Working, and I also announced at the top of this presentation that we, for the past year, have been understanding how the commission can function under the city's charter. With that, we have actually done public interfacing events. We worked with the State Task Force for Juneteenth over in Leimert Park, Juneteenth 2023. We also had 2 homecoming sessions, and we also had a preliminary survey that was prepared by Diamond, and that survey helped us to form the things that we want to work on with our partners. So with that said, where we are now essentially is in the final stages of contracting with our partners. We'll begin the research process of gathering and analyzing historical documentation. One of the things that I am most excited about in CSUN, and this is going to come up, their team is extraordinary. And some of the things that we are wanting to do, we are going to be able to do because of the expertise of the CSUN group. They are almost like specifically made for what it is that we need to do here. Okay, we're going to work with a collaboration with community to develop recommendations. I literally, and this is how seriously we're taking it, I have my page of notes from public comments. Other commissioners are writing down the public comments. We take your comments seriously. We do not take them at all lightly. We're going to work on the recommendations and the services that the city can offer to the eligible body, and we're going to take into consideration the comments we heard about who should be eligible. We're also going to submit those recommendations to the mayor and to the city council. And so what Commissioner Kayise was talking about, what you heard Capri Maddox talking about, this part, whether you think it is or is not, is the easier part. When the legislation shows up at City Council, when the legislation shows up in front of Mayor Karen Bass, that is when you all and your advocacy and your voices will need to be even louder than they were today. With that said, I want to move on to slide, I believe that is 24, to talk about the proposed study structure. So we have phase 1, which we are effectively in through June of 2023, where we are going to, if I'm understanding this correctly, we're going to prep for research on harms that are specific to the city of Los Angeles. Phase 2 is going to be from July 2023 through March of 2024, where we're going to have our academic and research partners on LA's harms and past. We're actually going to have case studies that are going to be presented. Our phase 3 will be from April 2024 through August 2024 with community reparation and co-creation workshops. That is when you're going to see us around different parts of the city to really engage on what has been done to date. And then phase 4 will be from September 24 through January 2025, where we have actual programming, fiscal recommendations coming out of this body, going to City Council and going to Mayor Bass. I also want to share with you, this body wanted things to be faster than that. We wanted to see if we could somehow get this process to happen within a 12-month cycle, but one of the things that we were really aware of was the City of LA's budget cycle. And so we wanted to make sure that as we created the phases, we had our academic partners on board with us through the period leading up to a budget phase so that we could make sure that the actual recommendations could go into an actual budget and not sit for too long, not sit for too short where we don't have enough reactionary time, and that caused us to actually extend this out for 1 year. Initially, we tried to see if we could somehow make the budget of 2024. There was no way at the hiring of our academic partners at this time that could happen. So I want you all to not just see a timeline and react to the timeline without understanding some of the nuance to the timeline. We are prepared to really be in that budget for 2025, and I need you all to know this. So with that said, now let's go to 2022 so we can get into our academic partners, because I'm a fan of CSUN. Y'all don't know how much of a fan, but you're about to find out. So CSUN's College of Social and Behavioral Sciences is our academic partner. We have the Department of Africana Studies, the Department of Criminology and Justice Studies, the Department, y'all don't know how important this department is, of Geography and Environmental Sciences, along with this Department of Geospatial Sciences. Trust me, these are the right ones. And so today we have with us Dr. Selassie from CSUN, but our other academic partner is Mockingbird Analytics, and Mockingbird Analytics is going to work on that fund development research part and that historical, how has reparations historically been paid for, because we are leaving no money on the table. We are committed to this. And so with that being said, I want to turn over to Dr. Selassie so that you can tell us all the good things that I know are coming from your team.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. Thank you all for sticking around. I know it's really hot. You've been here for a couple of hours. A lot of information has been passed around, so there's a lot to take in. But before I get started with just my brief overview of the study, I would just like to see if my partners are here, the team members. There is Dr. Marquita Gamage. There's also Dr. Karen Stanford. There is Dr. Brianna Posley. Dr. Steve Graves and Danielle Braun. I know Danielle's sitting up at the front. One of the things that I have to really stress to you all about the study that we are about to commence is, number one, we will be the largest city that has taken on a reparations study. I think someone earlier said that as goes California, so goes the rest of the nation. Well, they should have applied that to Los Angeles. Once this study is finished and it goes out to the broader public, there will be, I can guarantee you, a large outcry on both sides, both from its detractors and from those people who are supporters. This will be a monumental study that will be looked at by people, not just here in the United States, California, but throughout the world on how to do reparations. One of the things that I'd like to stress about this study is that we all know why.
I'm sorry.
All of us here know why we need to do this study. What we want to highlight is how things were done in Los Angeles that precipitated reparations. So far, by just looking at the preliminary data, I can tell you that it is ominous. I wrote my PhD dissertation on Black Los Angeles, and even last night, I was stunned at some of the preliminary data, particularly on housing, that will literally make your blood curl. Literally. So this study is intended to demonstrate what we already know in the Black community that are truths, things that I call facts beyond change. But what we need to do is to write a study that demonstrates to a larger audience that at best will be open and at worst will be skeptical and hostile. If you read any of the comments that came out from the study in San Francisco, it will allude you to the kind of backlash that we all need to be prepared for. The backlash for that study in San Francisco and other areas was just deeply disheartening, deeply sad, but we all know what we can expect. What we want to do in this study is to generate both qualitative and quantitative data, and we're going to need your help with that. You're going to have to tell us your stories. This just isn't, although we will be doing some academic work here because we need to survey the data, we need to do a literature review about what's already been written about Black Los Angeles. We need to do all of those things, and probably many of you are familiar, right, with those studies. I've seen people carrying around books today, so I think that you're pretty familiar with some of the literature that has been written about Black Los Angeles. But what we don't really know or have a really good handle on are the stories that you have to tell. So what this study is going to do is to look at the effects of public policy, the justice system, environmental racism, and how all of this shaped Black Los Angeles. Part of our effort will be to survey the community, you all, and we're going to do that by having or just obtaining from you real life data. We will have town halls. We are preparing, some of my team members are preparing surveys. We are going to cover every single corner possible to elicit how the city of Los Angeles, both public and private, limited Black life in this city. But the power is in your hands, not with the researchers at CSUN, although we will be doing our best, and not with the commission. It's all going to be through you. We will collect this data through surveys, questionnaires, as I said before, town hall meetings, and we all need your participation. So with that being said, if you have any questions, please fill out one of the cards or do the QR codes, let us know so we can answer that. And with that, I will turn my time over to Dr. VanderWoude. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you so much.
Just 1 second, Commissioner VanderWoude. Have you all ever wanted to actually map disparities or thought about if we could put it on a piece of paper and map it out to see what it visually looks like? Anybody? This is the team that can do it, and they can do it with multiple layers. And so I can't even say it enough. CSUN's team is going to be one of the most powerful reparations academic partners that we have seen in a way to give us not just numerical data, but to give us actual visual data where we can pinpoint it on a map. I am so, so happy to be of service. I'm so happy to have CSUN. Thank you so much for being here. You guys are going to see the fruit of this work. Give us the time to do it. Dr. VanderWoude.
All righty, so we're going to ask you to be patient with us for just a little bit longer, and then you're going to get on with your Saturday afternoon, right? So our Mockingbird Analytics, as we already mentioned, our other partner, is unable to be here today. But I just want to give you a little bit of a heads up of what we see coming in that contribution. I hope you can all hear me okay, and we ask you, can you hear me okay? Alrighty, let's try that again. So Mockingbird and the Analytics is unable to join us today. And they're our other partner. And they're going to bring extensive knowledge, and as we look at international reparations funding strategies, including challenges and community critiques. They are known to do extensive knowledge of past reparations funding, including case studies and strategies, and also including effective funding models as we continue with this work. We'll have insights from original research to calculate the cost of inequitable services. Potential philanthropic funders to also help with funding the city's support and reparations efforts. We also anticipate determinations about the monetary cost of harms to and on Black LA residents and communities, and an understanding of the cost of compensation or the value of reparations services, looking at funding options, trade-offs, and implications of a narrowed set of reparations program recommendations. So that's what we anticipate, sustainable funding options and implications of the final reparations recommendations is actually what Mockingbird Analytics will bring to the table. Now I'm going to return us back to Commissioner Jones-Muhammad.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. So let me give you, I try to make things digestible. So Mockingbird, and we fought for Mockingbird, and we fought for them because our bylaws say that we have to actually consider funding sources. That is not my area of expertise. Also, if you've been following reparations in Evanston, which is the second municipality behind Rosewood, Florida, Evanston is actually the second municipality behind Rosewood, Florida, to actually have legislation for reparations be implemented where people actually, beneficiaries actually received something. And in their housing program, they did a projection on cannabis income taxes, or the taxes of cannabis, in order to fund their program. They expected for cannabis to expand, but they didn't expect COVID. And because COVID came and shut the city down, the growth that was expected in cannabis did not happen, and so they effectively had a fiscal shortfall to what they were going to do with their reparations program. We did not want Los Angeles to have a fiscal shortfall. We wanted to make sure we explored all the options, whether it was from the general fund of Los Angeles, a cannabis fund, a newly created tax structure, public-private partnership. Mockingbird's job is to help us ensure that we find every nickel in the couch, every dollar that's underneath the couch, every quarter that we stuck in the quarter jar. We are going to find the money and the resources in order to bring a program to the city of Los Angeles that makes sense. So with that said, we have some questions. We have room for Q&A. We don't have a lot of time. We've gone over. And so I think we're going to take about 3 to 5 questions. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm supposed to read these? I'm reading these questions. And we are going to attempt to answer those questions. And then I'm going to give some lovely closing remarks. And we're going to get you all out of here because it's hot. And I know it's hot because I'm like, whoo. So questions. What would you like to know about the study? So someone asked, how soon can we see the monetary reparations? The modern day's descendants of American Negro slaves are long overdue. At the rate things are going, by the time we get to reparations, the American dollar may not have any value. Okay, we just went over the timeline. I actually already answered this question in that we are trying to get this into the 2025 budget. That is the timeline that we are sticking to. Next question. Does the Advisory Commission include or reference Connor's HR 40 study for conclusions? It is amazing to me that the Senate Congress still recommends the study. How do we move past the study? We just explained, thanks to Dr. Selassie, that we're doing a study. That is the purpose, because we need to be able to quantify harms. We need to be able to map harms. We need to consider those that live in Los Angeles and those who were harmed and left Los Angeles. So there is work to do. It's not cut and dry, even though we understand conceptually. We need to go beyond conception into reality so that we, again, can go from Dr. Selassie's team at CSUN to Mockingbird's team so that we can then say, this is how we're going to fund the repair. Okay. How do the efforts align with California Reparations Task Force conducted by the state? Is this the same effort, a local effort? Is the city of Inglewood involved? The city of Inglewood is not involved. They have their own governance. They have their own government. And so the city of Los Angeles is its own city charter. It has its own government. And so they are not the same. Again, we have been informed by the State Reparations Task Force. We have learned some things, which is why we have Mockingbird. We also are very compelled to make sure that there is a media and some marketing that is done to make sure that the people of Los Angeles knows that this is happening, because again, we did learn from the state's task force. And so there have been a couple of dollars earmarked for that purpose. I wouldn't be mad though if anybody walked over there with some of the budgetary recommendations that you could make to maybe give us some more marketing dollars, because we are a large city and this commission could use it. However, we have learned, but the state is the state, the municipality is the municipality, and we are focused on the municipality. How can I help get the word out to community? How to focus solutions on African Americans who are descendants of U.S. chattel slavery? I'm a reparationist. Yesterday I did a friends and family virtual experience. If you want us to host a friends and family virtual experience with you, I need you to send an email to lacr-reparations@lacity.org. Tell a friend, bring your church leadership, bring your, if you a sorority, you a Delta Sigma, Greek, whatever the letters are, Alpha Kappa, all of those things, whatever. Tell your Greek friends, tell your HBCU family, tell your banker, tell your dog walker, tell whoever you need to tell that is part of your network, bring them here. If you want us to have a conversation with them, all you have to do is ask, and we will do that for you. And be part of our public engagement process. If you have an organization, if you have a union, this is a union strong town. If you're part of a union and you want to make sure your membership receives that information, please make sure you become part of our, I want to call you ambassadors, so that you get the communication and you know every time we send you a blast, you know to communicate that out to your people so they can be part of our process. The last question I see here, well, there are 2 questions. When will there be an updated study? Is the LA Reparations Commission going to consult with the I don't know who the Jedi Committee is, so whoever wrote that question, I'm going to need you to email me some information about that. I don't have an answer for that, but we've given the timeline and we're committed to staying on that timeline because we are doing what? 2025 budget. Everything leads to 2025 budget. We are intentional with our work. Is the commission able to support a black tax to withhold the state and federal taxes of black Americans until the repair is paid? Are they able to start a land back process sooner than 2025? The city of Los Angeles can only command land that they own. And as far as taxes as a strategy, that is what Mockingbird would have to introduce to us. So if there are tax professionals that want to lend their understanding of tax regulations, of IRS code, of the city tax structure and income tax structure, please make recommendations again to LACR-reparations with an S at lacity.org. So those were all the questions that we had come through. For those of you who stayed through to the end, I really, really, really want to thank you so much for being here.
What I'll say is I do have questions in my hand. However, the commission is going to have to answer these. We'll post them online. A lot of them are the same, have already been answered. We are running towards the close of our public engagement community meeting today, but we do have your questions. We will be answering them. Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay. I didn't. Reparations. Now. Reparations. Now. Reparations. Now. Woo-woo! That was the perfect way for us to end our first, or actually our second, but our first official, live Reparations Advisory Commission meeting with the public. We want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank CAM. They hosted us here today in their lovely facility. I want to thank the staff of the museum and the press for making sure that the word got out. We saw by the numbers that showed out that we were very effective, and so tell 10 friends so the next time we need a space even larger than this one. I want to thank you all so much for attending. Stay informed, sign up for the newsletter, volunteer with us if you would like. You can go to www.civil and is spelled out A&D, humanrights.lacity.org under the Get Involved tab, and we will make sure that you are able to do that. For the familiar faces that I've seen who are really part of this reparations work, thank you so much. And I also want to thank the commissioners for being here, for being dedicated to this cause, and to our CSUN partners, Dr. Selassie, the team in the audience. We thank you so much for being part of the process and are very, very excited to work with you all. Thank you all so much.